two three
and then
พอแล้ว
2:30 p.m.
12 โมง
press conference. About 15 seconds it's supposed to come out.
1 โมง
I'm
เต็ม
not
หมู่
seeing
กัน
it yet
ตลาด
on
จะขึ้นแล้วจะลง
CNBC. I'm
สวิง
pressing
แฮงเลย
on
สวิง
refreshing.
ซ่าเนาะ
I might be on the wrong page.
ลุยกัน โอ้
I might be
ไป
on
แล้ว
how about monetary policy?
พังไปแล้ว700แล้ว
Refresh. I'm refreshing. Okay, it's supposed to have already happened. I'm going to take the clock off. CNBC does not have it yet.
ไปแล้ว
It's not on
700 ไป
CNBC yet. Is it here? Let's see. Recent development. Oh, here it is. There it is. I got it. FOMC statement. What do they say? Lower the target range by 1/4 percentage point. That means they lowered it by 1/4 percentage point, right? Right? 1/4 percentage point lower. I think.
อ๋อรุ่นนี่700เมื่อกี้ขึ้นไป700ปานมันขึ้น
Okay. Now I don't know what. All right, so there's the statement. Now I don't. Yes, they have lowered it by 1/4 percentage point. Breaking news. I was correct. That is what it was expected. So Fed cuts rates by
ลงมาเก็บ
1/4
stop loss
point.
เนาะลงมาเบิ่งแฮง
Fed cuts interest rates
อ๋อลงมาแฮงทั่ว
by 0.25%. Powell
มัน
speaks
ลงมาแฮงทั่วลงเบิ่งแฮง
at 2:30 ET. So that was the expected amount of the cut, 25 basis points. That was the expected amount. We're waiting to see what, hey, I actually was able to get it to you pretty quickly. So I'm glad we did that. We're waiting to hear, I want to change the clock because I want to change to Powell speaks in. Because we're going to have live Jerome Powell in his important press news conference where he gives his long-term outlook. That seems very important. Powell speaks in, I'm going to make this 2:30, and update this. Let's see if this works with the clock here. We're going to take your comments on here. I'm going to get Jerome Powell. Let me just fix the clock here. Let me just fix the clock.
สั่นเลยเนาะมือสั่นเลยหย่อเมื่อกี้มันหย่อมาเก็บเกือบมาเก็บ stop loss.
We got our Jerome Powell countdown clock. Okay. This is the first rate cut since December. So I'm going to read you their FOMC statement. Oh, by the way, how are the stocks doing? Okay. I'm going to look here. I'm going to pull up stocks just to see how they're doing. The Dow has gone up a bit. The Dow has gone up a bit since the announcement. I can see that right now. The Dow is up about 1% for the day, but there's clearly on the chart the Dow has gone up a bit since the announcement. S&P and NASDAQ, they've all gone up a bit since the announcement. Yeah, David Whitworth says slightly. It's not huge. It's not a huge amount. For example, NASDAQ looks like it went up about
700
I'm just looking.
800 700แล้ว
70 points or something like
แต่
that.
มันเมื่อกี้มันมาเก็บ stop loss เนาะเพราะลงมาแฮงสุด
All right, I'm going to read this second,
lùng
but
mặt lúc
let me check one other thing. Hold on a minute. Give me a moment here. Give me a moment.
800
Let's read what the Fed had to say, and we're waiting for Jerome Powell to speak. Here's what the Fed said. I have their statement. Recent indicators suggest that growth of economic activity moderated in the first half of the year. That means slowed down a bit. Job gains have slowed, and the unemployment rate has edged up but remains low. Inflation has moved up, and remains somewhat elevated.
ขึ้นแฮงลงแฮง
The committee that voted
สวิงขึ้นสวิงลง
seeks to achieve maximum employment and inflation at the rate of 2% over the longer run. That's their goal. Maximize employment while keeping inflation at 2%. Uncertainty about the economic outlook remains elevated. The committee
มัน
is
ตั้ง stop loss
attempting
อยู่
to
ไกลนึงเนาะ
resist
ถ้าทื่นหน่อยนี่ขาดทื่น
both
ปั๊บเลย
sides of its dual
มันฮอต
mandate
stop loss แล้วก็
and judges that
มันลากลงมาเมื่อกี้มันลากลงมาตู้
downside
ตู้
risks to
อยู่
employment
ใต้
have
พี่น้อง
risen. So what they're saying basically is like, look, our job is
มันย้าย stop loss ลงมาทางใต้
increase job growth
เพื่อป้องกัน
but
ทื่นไว้
to keep inflation down. And so if you lower interest
ขึ้น
rates,
ไปเรื่อย
generally speaking, that's going to help with the job growth, but it's going to hurt with inflation because inflation is going to go up. If you raise interest rates, that's going to help with inflation. It'll keep the inflation down, but the job growth will go down. So what they're saying is, given that they worry about these two things, downside risks to employment have risen. So they're a bit more concerned about the employment now than keeping the inflation low. Because of this, in support of its goals, and in light of the shift in the balance of risks, they think the bigger risk now is not inflation. Instead, the bigger risk is lack of job growth. The committee decided to lower the target range for the federal funds rate by a quarter percentage point to 4.25%. To 4.25%, but they lowered it by a quarter percent. In considering additional adjustments to the target range for the federal funds rate, the committee will carefully assess incoming data, the evolving outlook, and the balance of risk. That just says they're going to keep an eye out for how things are going with the economy before making further decisions. The committee will continue reducing its holding of Treasury securities. The committee is strongly committed to supporting maximum employment and returning inflation to its 2% objective. Inflation is above 2% right now, so it's already higher than their objective. In assessing the appropriate stance of monetary policy, the committee will continue to monitor the implications of incoming information for the economic outlook. The committee would be prepared to adjust the stance of monetary policy as appropriate if risks emerge that could impede the attainment of the committee's goals. I mean, this is kind of boilerplate, I assume. The committee's assessments will take into account a wide range of information, including readings on labor market conditions, inflation pressures, and inflation expectations, and financial and international developments. How many voted against? Okay. Breaking news. The one person who disagreed with this decision, the one person of the 12 who voted who disagreed was Stephen Miran, who was just appointed by President Trump, and he voted for a bigger rate cut. He is the only one that disagreed with quarter-point rate cut.
เมื่อกี้นี่มันสวิงเนี่ยค่ะตั้ง stop loss อยู่ไกลเรียบร้อยเลยมันตัดขาดมาเลยมันกินหมดเลย stop loss อยู่ไกลเนี่ยลากมาอยู่ไกล stop loss อยู่ไกลหนึ่งคือจุดขาดทุนเนาะจุดขาดทุนกับกำไรนี่ TP นี่ฮอต P มันจะตัดเองเลยเนาะคือมันตึ๊ดแล้วฮอตจุดกลาง TP เนี่ยมันจะปิดออเดอร์เองเลย900ไปเรียนแล้วเนาะ900อ๋อ970โอ้พันเอาพันไปปิดละพันไป1,000เอาเมื่อกี้ขึ้น1,000ขึ้นไปอีก
That's interesting.
1,000
So that's the statement. We're going to hear a lot more from
$1,000
But as you think about this, again, and I like how they explained it here, there are two big goals. One, to keep inflation down. Two, to keep employment up. Maximum employment, but keep inflation at 2%. They're worried about both right now because there's been some not so great employment numbers lately, but also inflation is above their target of 2%. And we have these a lot of Trump tariffs, which could increase prices more. So, but what they've said today is we're based on what's happening lately. We're now a bit more concerned about the employment side.
1,200 ปิด
So because of that,
กำไรไป
are lowering our rate by a quarter percent, quarter point.
กำไรได้พันปลาย
However, keep this in mind.
1,000 กับ $200